little cooler in Robinson, 85 also in Paris today. And we are going to remain partly cloudy throughout the day. Only a slight chance of precipitation. We might see some rain, slim chance around 30%, but overall looks pretty good. Your news starts right now.
This is local news that matters. You're watching WAWV News at Noon.
The federal execution of Keith Dwayne Nelson is back on track after a judge's ruling, and we hear from family friends of Nelson's victim what they hope comes after his execution. Also, the Vigo County School Corporation will announce plans on how the school year will continue. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for News at Noon. I'm Sadie All. The scheduled federal execution of Keith Dwayne Nelson is back on track after a judge ruled there needed to be a requirement on the lethal injection to be used. This is the 5th federal execution we've seen at the Terre Haute Federal Prison this summer. The last-minute appeals for Nelson center around the drug pentobarbital and whether it causes pain prior to death. If Nelson's lawyer appeals to the Supreme Court on the prescription issue, Nelson's execution could be left to a high court decision. We saw similar moves to delay 3 other executions last month that failed, with the high court allowing them to proceed. Nelson was convicted of raping, kidnapping, and killing a 10-year-old girl in Kansas. As of now, his execution is scheduled for 4 p.m. today. Family and friends of Nelson's victim, 10-year-old Pamela Butler, are ready for Pamela's mother to see justice. Pamela's mother, Sherry, plans to be a witness to Nelson's execution. Sean McDowell reports.
You see a lot of purple. Again, that was her favorite color.
Consider this a promise kept.
Sherry said she wanted it filled with purple.
Friends of the Butler family swore they'd never forget 10-year-old Pamela Butler. In 1999, Butler was kidnapped and murdered by a KCK neighbor named Keith Nelson.
It's still hard for the family.
Count CYNDE Williams is family friends who are relieved to see Nelson's execution date has arrived. Nelson admitted to sexually assaulting the child and strangling her with a wire. Her mother, Sherry Butler, plans to attend the execution.
Everybody's happy that he's getting executed. It should have been happening years ago, but it's happening now, and it's going to end.
Stacy Mangles, another family friend, says waiting for more than 2 decades has been torture for Pamela's loved ones.
Finally, it's taken long enough. It's been a very long 21 years for her family waiting to get justice for her, and it is so close.
Sherry Butler recently told Fox 4 News she and prosecutors were prepared for the delays in execution that Nelson and his legal team have staged. Butler also said that in her opinion, this execution is an eye for an eye, and her daughter is worth that.
A local sister of Providence says she'll be Nelson's minister of record. Sister Barbara Battista says she's been meeting with Nelson and will be inside the death chamber when his execution takes place.
It's a humbling and sacred responsibility that someone from his faith tradition, someone that he wants there to witness, to bear witness, and to companion him to his death. And that's my role on Friday.
An appeal from Nelson's attorney would not guarantee a halt in his execution. It could also just delay the execution, or the court could choose not to hear the case. Next week, the Vigo County School Corporation will make a decision on how schools should continue. Currently, the district has in-person learning split into 2 alternating groups to limit the number of students in its buildings. That model is in place through at least September 4th. Communications Director Bill Riley says the district will announce its educational model for September 8th through the 25th on Wednesday. Riley tweeted, quote, "We need the latest COVID-19 related data for our schools and community to aid in our decision making. Data can change quickly, and this time will help us make the best decision while still giving staff and families 6 days to make arrangements." And local school districts are receiving more than $2 million to invest in remote learning equipment and internet connectivity. The Vigo County School Corporation is receiving $1.3 million. Districts in Greene and Sullivan counties are also receiving funding. This money comes from the Federal CARES Act. Dozens of rural Indiana communities also receiving more than $10 million through the CARES Act to ease the economic impact of COVID-19. Locally, Washington will receive $250,000 to help businesses with rent and utility payments, among other operating costs. Davies County is getting $250,000 to distribute grants to small businesses that have been hurt by the pandemic. Park County is also getting $250,000 to create loans for business owners and employers. Well, Terre Haute police are still looking for a suspect in a hit and run with the school bus that happened yesterday. The wreck happened in the afternoon at the intersection of Highway 63 and Spring Hill Drive. A pickup truck hit the rear end of the bus. Authorities say the driver fled the scene. There were no children on board and no injuries reported at the time of the accident. Protests have led to looting in downtown Minneapolis after what authorities said was misinformation about the suicide death of a black homicide suspect. The first came on Wednesday afternoon when the man was shot. We have the report here.
Another painful night in a city still aching. Restaurants trashed. This pharmacy sabotaged.
I'm trying to get in there because I'm a cancer survivor and get my meds before I go into surgery. I'm in very crucial pain, very crucial pain, and I'm suffering because of this. This is my second time around for this store to be closed.
Because of the looting.
Number 2, because of the looting.
When reflecting on Wednesday night's destruction, Victoria Washington quoted Congressman John Lewis.
Make good trouble, not bad trouble.
No doubt it was a night of complicated emotions.
There was a lack of trust in the two communities, which resulted in the energies of anger and frustration of our young people, of our people of the world kind of coming out last night.
Alicia D. Smith and other neighborhood leaders came to Nicollet Mall to try and brainstorm new ways towards long-awaited healing.
Day in and day out, whether we're dealing with black bodies dropping from crime internally in our community or we're dealing with black bodies being shot and victimized by a system. Every day is something. We are always in a perpetual state of trauma.
Victoria Washington knows pain is very real and healing needed. She just asks that others aren't hurt in the process.
Just have respect that there are people that rely on these places that you're tearing down. March in peace. March in peace.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey imposed a curfew Wednesday night and requested National Guard help after the unrest. This is an aerial view of police blocking the streets last night. Mayor Frey says details of the curfew are still being worked out, but at a news conference Thursday, he assured the community that the government was looking out for them.
To those that are concerned, I understand, but you have multiple different governments. You have leaders on a multi-jurisdictional level as well as in community that are entirely committed to keeping the peace and to keeping our neighborhoods and commercial corridors safe. We have your back, and we will do everything possible to do exactly that tonight.
The teenage suspect in this week's fatal shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin, appeared before a judge today. Kyle Rittenhouse is facing numerous homicide charges. According to court records, the 17-year-old is accused of a shooting incident that ended with 2 people dead and another severely injured. Rittenhouse's alleged attack happened during protests calling for justice after the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Blake, who was shot 7 times in the back, is paralyzed, according to his family. While Indiana is moving forward with the normal election process, Secretary of State Connie Lawson says the November election will not have major changes like the primary did earlier this year. Indiana is expecting more than 1 million Hoosiers to vote by mail, even though people must meet certain criteria to vote absentee. Lawson says the state will provide PPE to counties for both poll workers and voters, as well as disinfectant for voting equipment.
Advice again would be, if you're worried about getting caught in a long line on Election Day, vote closer to that October 6th opening of early voting rather than waiting till the close of early voting, which is on noon, November the 2nd.
The deadline to register to vote is October 5th. The campus of Indiana State University will come together to honor the anniversary of the March on Washington. The event in 1963 is where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. ISU will mark the anniversary through an event called IS Unity Day. The university handed out T-shirts that say, "You matter to me." Participants will also take pictures of themselves wearing the shirts and share them on social media with a special hashtag. Well, several downtown Terre Haute restaurants had planned to offer outdoor dining this weekend. That plan followed the city approval of street closures on parts of Wabash Avenue. However, the effort is now canceled. In a statement, two local business owners, George Azar and Connie Wren, wrote, "As leaders of the downtown business community, we had the best of intentions and hopes for this weekend's Eat in the Streets activities. But unfortunately, we no longer feel comfortable moving forward. We encourage everyone to continue to patronize our downtown restaurants, as this has been a challenging year and we are in need of your support." We thank the City of Terre Haute, the Board of Works, and the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce for